latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Back in August of last year, gubernatorial candidate Abigail Spanberger said she had no plans to redistrict Virginia. And then she was elected governor, and it was the first bill she signed. I have no plans. Somebody says, I have no plans. You can almost bank, a politician says that you can almost bank on that's exactly what they'll be doing, what they have no plans to do. Mm-hmm. And former Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, in advance of yesterday's vote, said it would be close, and he was right. But it turns out that Virginia is for gerrymanderers now.
2016, when Eric Holder, right when he got out of the Obama administration, started the Democrat Redistricting Commission. And then in 2022 and again in 2024, they pressed to pick up seats in New York. But with all that said, it's about Virginia. And Virginia in 2020 held a constitutional referendum, amended our Constitution to have nonpartisan, independent redistricting. 2/3 of Virginians said we want politics out, politicians out. And now we have Abigail Spanberger saying she's going to ignore the voice of Virginians, override them, and try to adopt the most gerrymandered map in America. Today we have what is assessed as the fairest map in America. I don't love it. It's 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, but it's fair. And she wants to override it and turn it into the most gerrymandered map in America. It's wrong. Virginians should stand up and vote no tomorrow.
Well, 48% did, and the majority did not. Listen to the language, too, of this constitutional amendment that was passed by Virginia voters yesterday. And by the way, it's not the final word, because the state Supreme Court is still taking up the matter as to whether this constitutional amendment is indeed constitutional. But listen to the question's wording. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? To ensure fairness, going from 6-5 to 10-1 is to ensure fairness. Yeah, well, you know, they have strange definitions, those leftists do. Speaking of the census, because, you know, all of this is the Virginia explanation is based, well, Texas started this all. Well, actually, New York Dems did it before Texas. But that's neither here nor there, of course. The census, though, did want to make this point because the 2020 census probably stole, dare I say, 6 to 10 seats from Republicans and from red states. Good piece over at Chronicles by Benjamin Osborne on the topic. This is from the Census Bureau itself. They employ this technique called differential privacy to do the counting. In 2020, they did something, the Census Bureau did something very different. For the first time since 1790, the federal government did not just count people. It altered the count. It engineered the data. It did so by applying an algorithm to the numbers under the sanitized academic label of differential privacy. What is differential privacy, you asked? A scientific framework for processing data to protect the identities and personal information of the people in the data. It works by adding statistical noise, small random additions or subtractions to every published statistic so that no one can re-identify a specific person or household with any certainty using any combination of the published data. Well, as Osborne notes, in practice, differential privacy deliberately falsifies real population data by adding random errors, meaning the numbers used for political representation are not fully accurate. The algorithm scrambles local data in ways that shift political power, disproportionately benefiting urban left-leaning areas while diluting the influence of rural and conservative communities. In plain terms, the government took real communities and replaced them with statistical fiction, and then it told states to draw political maps based on that fiction. It's a system of deliberate data manipulation. It's not a safeguard for the purposes of privacy. That's what was done in 2020. And it in part precipitated the remapping effort in Texas, and one that may be taken up in Florida as well. And, of course, what California and now Virginia have done only encourage more of this. Because we can't just do anything on the level, not when the left is involved. And, I mean, you know, many on the left will tell you straight away. I mean, including famously New York Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who talking about illegals being counted in the census, by the census for the purpose of apportionment. She needs them so she can protect her safe district.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
Yeah. Hey, give me all the illegals you got. For more on all this, John Hinderaker joins us, president of the Center for the American Experiment, contributor to PowerlineBlog.com. John, thanks for being with us.
Always good to be with you, Dan.
So, a disappointing but not surprising outcome in Virginia, and obviously more concern about GOP prospects in the midterms.
Well, I was surprised, honestly, that the Virginia vote was as close as it was. You know, Barack Obama's campaigning for this initiative, and Virginia, of course, has been trending blue, and they had the absurd description of it that you read. I mean, it's kind of remarkable that it only won by 3 points. But, you know, the Democrats have got their thumb on the scale in a variety of ways. You mentioned the census. Gerrymandering is a major one. We're seeing that all across the country. Now some of the Republican states are starting to gerrymander just out of self-defense, Texas in particular. And I see all of this, Dan, frankly, as part of the movement toward disunion that we have been seeing for quite a while now. If we can't play by honest rules, you have to ask yourself what basis there is for common citizenship between the left and the right here in the United States. And does it really work for us to try to collaborate on governing a single country?
Well, I mean, when you have exchanges like this one we played earlier in the week, but it bears a replay, between Wisconsin Congressman Brian Stile and your Secretary of State in Minnesota about the voter reg process effectively in Minnesota. I mean, I just don't think that enough people realize how some of these states like yours, like my home state of Illinois, operate. But listen to this.
Does Minnesota issue driver's licenses to illegal aliens?
Mr. Chair, to non-citizens broadly, those who are documented and undocumented.
So non-citizens broadly, including illegal aliens. And does it distinguish on the driver's license whether or not an individual is a citizen or not?
Mr. Chair, no, it does not.
No, it does not. Some states do. Minnesota does not. So if an individual comes to register day of in Minnesota, you allow same-day registration. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And if an individual comes in and registers, there's no photo ID requirement on same-day registration in Minnesota. Accurate?
Correct.
And so an individual wouldn't have to show their ID, and if they did show their ID, it wouldn't say whether or not they're a United States citizen.
Mr. Chair, I'm hesitating only because there's certain circumstances that might be different from that. But I take the meaning of your question. Yes, it's not required.
Gee, I wonder if that opens up the possibility of voter fraud in Minnesota, John.
Well, it certainly does. We have a huge number of same-day registrations here in Minnesota, and it's kind of ironic because, as Steve Simon made the correct point, which is, well, the driver's license, the fact that it doesn't show whether you're a citizen isn't really the main point because you don't need anything.
Yeah.
You can show up on election day and say, hi, I'm Dan Proft, and I live in this precinct. Oh, really? Okay, great. Here's a ballot. It's really, you don't even need a fake ID to vote illegally in Minnesota.
Well, and then that same Secretary of State in another hearing also explained how you can vouch for up to 8 people who live at your address, for example. So I can do what was just described, what you just described, and then I can bring 8 of my friends and say, yeah, they all live at 123 Main Street with me, and they can same day register and vote too. I mean, seriously, this is lunacy.
I don't think they have to live at your address. I think you just have to vouch for the claim that they live in the precinct.
Yeah, okay, even more broad. Yes.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
and the Democrats have been known to station vouchers at precinct polling places. It's a very corrupt system.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's
just like taxpayers around the country look at what happens in Minnesota and they say, "Wait a minute, my federal tax dollars are being thrown, are being
or the Leering Center
checks written to criminals in Minnesota." And now you have the same kind of thing. People around the country look at what's happening in Minnesota, what's happening now, what's going to happen in Virginia and other states, and say, "Well, wait a minute, we're voting honestly for congressmen here in my state, and we're losing out because of dishonesty that is being perpetrated in other states." It's a really toxic situation.
Well, you do have some signs of life in the GOP in Minnesota, which is more than they can say in Illinois. I saw, and we talked a bit about articles of impeachment that have been moved against Tim Walz. I don't expect they're going to go very far, but at least it focuses more public attention on the benefits fraud that he has been allowed to explode under Walz.
Right. There were articles of impeachment filed against Walz and also against our Attorney General, Keith Ellison. And obviously they're not going to be impeached, but I think it's nevertheless a worthwhile effort. Minnesota is a lot closer than many people realize. Currently, the Minnesota House is dead even, 67-67. The Minnesota Senate is 34-33, a one Democrat advantage. It literally could not be closer mathematically.
I know it's and frankly, given the sort of the ballot integrity regime that we were just discussing, it's remarkable that it is that close.
It really is. It really is. So notwithstanding the negativity you sometimes hear from me, Dan, don't give up on Minnesota.
No, but I mean, and I still think that this issue of benefits fraud is a real wild card over the next 7 months leading into the midterm election. And I wonder where things at, like your perspective, because, Minnesota was the epicenter for a moment and it's moved a little bit towards California for obvious reasons now. But with the whistleblowers, the people that were suggesting that from inside these public agencies in Minnesota that there was fraud going on. They tried to alert people. They were walled off. They were silenced. And some, apparently, at least anonymously, have accused Tim Walz of knowingly aiding and abetting the fraud. And I just wonder where things stand.
Well, I think the most important thing, Dan, is that we're going to be seeing some new indictments and some new programs. The big fraud in Minnesota was Feeding Our Future, which was a food program ostensibly for poor children, added up to about $500 million in fraud. And that's where we've seen, 90 indictments and 65 convictions and so on. That's been the big scandal. But there's fraud in all of our programs. And the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota have been investigating fraud in 14 different Medicaid programs in Minnesota and have concluded that there is billions and billions of dollars in criminality in those programs. They're preparing indictments. And so a whole new wave of indictments, bigger than the ones we've seen before in terms of dollars, will begin, I'm told, sometime between now and the beginning of summer. So by the time the midterms roll around, there should be a whole major wave of publicity about new fraud that's been uncovered in Minnesota.
We'll look forward to that. Just staying on Minnesota for a second. So much activity there. The Hennepin County District Attorney, Moriarty, issuing arrest warrants for ICE officers. She's going to be the one that tries to draw the line and have state prosecutions of federal law enforcement.
Yeah, she, with all due respect, is a nut. And she ran for office on a soft-on-crime platform, promising to go easy on criminals. And unlike most politicians, she's been true to her word. Her 4 years as Hennepin County attorney have been such a disaster in terms of crime that she is not running for re-election. So this is kind of her swan song, one last outrage from the Hennepin County attorney's office.
Interesting. Soft on criminals and tough on federal law enforcement. I'm glad at least that she is being sidelined effectively by the voters. She doesn't feel like she can run again. That's encouraging. That's an encouraging note, too, isn't it?
Well, I think it is. I mean, my organization certainly has been, part of the effort to inform people about the craziness that's been going on in Hennepin County for the last 4 years.
John Hinderaker, president of the Center of the American Experiment, his organization he was just mentioning, and contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, thank you as always.
Great to be with you, Dan.
You too. Thanks for joining us. John Hinderaker did so on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have.